Hey folks, how you doing? That was an instrumental. I didn't even sing. I would have anything for lunch, but I won't have that. Meatloaf and loaded potatoes. How y'all doing? I got some chainsaw chaps after being chided that I should be doing something to protect my beautiful legs. It wasn't exactly phrased that way, but I went out and did some chainsawing today, and I actually wore the protective chainsaw chaps. So there you go. I also got a new blade for the chainsaw, so it was really nice and sharp. And I did something that you guys, people keep telling me to do over and over and over again, and I haven't done because it takes work. And I'm not convinced on the efficacy of the method yet, but I wanted to get around to trying it at some point. So I used the borrowed tractor and I dug a trench and I buried logs in it. So there you go. I did it. I didn't even film it though. Crazy. Didn't even film it. I did it. I didn't film it. So you'll see this mounded pile with a bit of a log sticking out of it. I was going to do some filming today, but I was so busy working, you know? So. The Vicious and Loves Life says, sorry, no tips tonight, Mr. Piano Man. We need to order a new washer and dryer. I understand that. I finally got a chest freezer. There's been shortages in chest freezers forever, and I finally got one. It's funny, I went to Lowe's last night because we're quite a ways from town, from like an actual town that sells much stuff, and so we have to drive 45 minutes to go to Lowe's. So Lowe's is on the way to church, so we just go to church early for the Wednesday night service, and I could go down there and go shopping if I need anything. So this is the first time I've been in Lowe's in years. The kids were just amazed. I mean, they're used to shopping in the Caribbean and just looking around. It's just shelf after shelf after shelf of stuff. Incredible. But they didn't have anything but these small little hot point chest freezers, and I wanted a big one. I wanted one that was at least 16 cubic feet. And so I talked to the lady there, and she was really polite and friendly, and she said, well, we don't have it in yet, but we are going to get looks like we're going to get a Kenmore 18 and a half. I said, okay, like soon? She goes, it's supposed to be here the next couple of days. We could deliver it Tuesday. Okay, I'll take it. Fine. Because, I mean, I've been looking for quite a while, so I ordered it before it got into the store. Basically, they're probably going to take it to the back of the store and then put it on a truck. Dan Van Cowenberg says, what about planting on a biochar trench? Good question. That is actually something that I'm going to be doing. I have been collecting the materials to try and do a trench, kind of a terra preta experiment in my spring vegetable garden beds, the first set of beds that I built. And so I am going to be taking those beds, digging down a couple of feet, and layering in bones and biochar and kelp and azomite and rotten eggs and all kinds of whatever stuff I can find around. Will all get buried in there. So yes, that's actually on the agenda. But the hugelkultur bed will be, it's like a 6-foot long bed or 7 foot or something like that. It'll be a nice little experiment. I put it in the middle of a little food forest patch, which leads us into today's topic. Welcome back. I'm David the Good. Today's topic is pest control via improved ecology, which is kind of a mouthful. But it is something that comes up regularly. One of the things that I get asked moderately often is, what do you do for pests? I mentioned it in the stream the other night. What do you do for pests? And one of the things I said was the best and one of the most interesting things you can do for pests is to actually feed with micronutrients and make sure that the plants are so well fed that the pests actually can't kill them or don't really bother them that much, because the plants actually create the proteins they need. They create complete proteins, and they will just knock out the pest issues. So instead of just thinking of, okay, what poisonous thing can I spray to fix this, you actually just feed the plant everything it needs, and stuff just rolls off it. So when I got a mysterious flu, it just rolled off me. And I think part of the reason was because I was trying to make sure that I had a nutrient dense diet, because I was expecting to catch it at some point. And that doesn't mean that it's not fail safe. It's not like if you eat this thing or you take this thing, you're never going to get sick or whatever. I think that there's always some chinks in the armor that an infection can work their way into. And there are, why do bad things happen to good people or whatever? You can't find perfection in this life because it's a fallen world. There is something that will mess you up. But I do think that you can mitigate some of those problems by being well nutrientified. So you're eating healthy, nutrient-rich diet. You are taking care of yourself, and you're moderately healthy already. So when something attacks you, you're in better shape. So this goes back some years ago. My grandpa fell off of a ladder while pruning a tree. It's a bad deal. He was 70, in his 70s. He fell off of this ladder, and it's not like he had bad balance or anything. I mean, he wasn't a decrepit 70. As a matter of fact, he was really, really fit. But he fell off of this ladder, and he broke his pelvis. And he could not get himself back up again because of the damage. And he had to kind of drag himself, and he knew it was bad. He eventually got help from a neighbor, and they called the ambulance, took him to the hospital, and he was healing from that for weeks and weeks and weeks. And what he had been doing before he had this accident, before he was pruning the trees, one of his favorite things to do was to go biking. And he would bike for miles. We're talking 40, 50, 60-mile stretches he would bike just for fun. He loved doing that. Out in the sun, South Florida, biking for miles and miles and miles. He'd bike way out into the Everglades. He'd bike way down along the beaches. He'd go through the city. He'd go way out west into Davie. He'd go to Alligator Alley. He would bike. And so when the problem came, when his body was called on to do massive repair work, he was quite fit for his age, and for any age. He was lean, he had some muscle tone, and he was an active and healthy guy. The doctor told him, as he was healing, he said, look, at your age, this injury would have killed a lot of people. He said, the only reason that you could go through this long of being in bed and healing is because you were already fit. And that kind of stuck with me. And so part of the fending off the pests and diseases in your garden is to make sure your plants are already fit. If the plants are thin, if they're not getting enough sun, if they don't have enough iron or magnesium or calcium, if the pH is wrong, if the soil life is terrible, if the soil is anaerobic, if it's too wet, if it's too dry, if they're not getting enough nitrogen or whatever, they will suffer. much worse from pests and diseases than otherwise. They just fail to thrive. Whereas if a plant is well fed, well watered, it's planted in the right spot, it has the micronutrients it needs, the pH is good, it will just grow, and it'll often outgrow a lot of problems. Usually by the time somebody looks at it and they go, oh my gosh, these plants look so sick and they're all covered with aphids and they're all yellow, it's too late. You go out and you spray your malathion and you maybe get a paltry yield, but the problem is that the ecosystem around them was not good to begin with. So if you have fed up the soil, fed up the plants, if you've got the mix of micronutrients, if the soil ecology is good, you've got worms in there, you've got all that organic matter, you've got a good mix of fungi and bacteria, all this stuff is happening. The plants just seem to do way, 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 way better. It's like if you take antibiotics and you wipe out the entire ecology of your gut, you have other problems. You may get rid of the initial infection, and antibiotics may save your life, but the ecology of your body gets thrown off because it's just a blanket. Let's blast it. We have to blast this thing. We have to get rid of this nasty thing. So what do? You eat yogurt, or if you're even better, at this kind of thing, you have homemade sauerkraut or kimchi. You drink kombucha. You drink kefir. You have like wild fermented stuff that you eat that helps restore some of the gut ecology and recolonize your digestive tract so you don't have other problems with digestion and other sicknesses and things. You actually need a certain amount of pathogens in your system at any given time just to train your body how to fight. The immune system just thrives on that sort of thing. There is a limit when you get too much and it kills you, but that constant low-level stress of having E. coli and other things in your gut is good for your body. It builds the system up. It gives your immune system something to practice on. So in the garden, with pest issues, the first thing I would say is to make sure that you have soil life. You make sure that you have good, healthy, living soil. Make sure that you've got your organic matter in there. Hopefully you've got some worms moving their way through. If you're feeding the soil up, that's good. And those bacteria and fungi and things, they breed really fast and they regrow really fast. So I'm not so concerned about the till or no-till side of things, because I do think that a lot of the bacteria in the soil, you can't leave a tuna fish sandwich in the back of your car for a day and then eat it the next day without getting violently ill because the bacteria are doubling every 20 minutes. I'm really not that concerned about, tilling and destroying all the bacteria in the soil. Fungi, on the other hand, tilling up all the soil and wrecking the fungi, that can be a thing. And so with your perennial beds, you probably want to go as low tillage as possible. And there's not really a need with perennials to do the tillage like you do with annuals. But no-till is probably the best thing for the soil ecology overall, but I'm not convinced that it's actually going to be like, you're not going to be able to grow any good, healthy food if you till. Obviously, I till, But that's the first thing. Make sure that soil has all the micronutrients to feed your plants. All the nutrients, the micronutrients, it's rich, it's fertile, and a side effect of it being rich and fertile is that you're going to have life in it anyways, because that feeds the microecology that you can't see as well. So if you're feeding the soil well, your plants are going to be fed well. You're really feeding the soil and then letting your plants take off, So that's the first thing. Now, the second thing, what I've really noticed is that the more variety of plants that I plant together, the more confused it seems to make the pests, and the less issues I have with pests in general. So if I'm growing a bed of nothing but tomatoes and the hornworms get into it, they'll often attack a set of tomatoes down the row, and you'll have like bits and pieces. They're jumped to this one, to this one, to this one, to this one, right down the row. But if I've seen it where I've got a pepper plant or a tomato plant or something planted at the base of a little peach tree or something in the food forest, and it's like the bugs don't even see it. They can't find it. So mixing up what you have and leaving lots of space for life really seems to make a big difference. You know, you've got a cabbage and you've got some herbs and you've got some flowers and you've got some trees and you've got some perennial you've got some perennial things growing along the edges. You've got some berries or whatever. You've got all kinds of different things growing together into this ecosystem. It kind of locks together, and the predators have a place to hide, and there's always a few pests around, which is good because it keeps the predators fed so they can keep hunting. Again, you don't want complete destruction of all pests. You want the predators to stay around because the pests will come back eventually, and if there are no predators around because you've nuked everything, that's no good. So keeping this mix of plant species is really, really helpful. And also, the normal thing about rotating crops, don't plant your potatoes in the same patch every year, same place over and over and over again. That's probably not a good idea. Not only does it pull specific minerals out of the soil that potatoes they really want, it also allows pathogens and diseases and pests to build up. Like, sweet potatoes are technically a perennial. They're a perennial vine. They'll keep crawling on the ground. But I've noticed that the first year I plant them, I will get a good yield of roots. But the second year, if I just let them keep growing, I get less roots and I get some harder roots, and the old roots start to get eaten by termites and stuff, and I just don't get the yields. But if I take some of those vines and I chop them off and I stick them in the ground in another spot, and I go over here, I'm like, that's where I'm going to put my sweet potato bed, they'll grow better. They'll grow great again. Same plant, but it just not growing on that same ground over and over again seems to make a difference. So before we get into the next part, I'm going to look here and see if there's any questions I need to answer. Oh, and I want to welcome Jacob, new member, who also sends a super chat. Says, God bless you and welcome back. Wondered why you want to move to the third world years ago. And now that you come back, I have the same thought. I feel safer in the U.S. since God called you back, though. Well, that's encouraging. I'm glad you feel safer. We're all in the Lord's hands. So he sets up kings, he takes down kings, he sets countries up, he takes countries down. He establishes governments and he dissolves governments. Blessed be the name of the Lord. We don't know how things are going to go. It's obvious that no government that we've had in quite a while has any kind of idea of fiscal responsibility. And the idea of personal liberty and stuff is like, there's no political party that seems to care about real liberty, or protecting liberty in any way anymore. So, that's it. We get what we deserve, but I don't enjoy living through it sometimes, but thank you very much. It was, the reason I moved was because I was believing that based on spending patterns, etc., the United States was going to collapse and break to pieces. And I still believe that. And I was trying to get away from it. But the problems of the United States spread throughout the rest of the world as well. And we had problems down there, came from the United States. And from China as well. But I'm very glad to be back. And I know the Lord will take care of us. Whatever happens, happens. So thank you very much, and thank you for joining as a member. Appreciate the super chat as well. Let me answer a few questions here, and then I'm going to get into the last bit. Betty says, Ocala is supposed to get into the 20s this weekend. Wow, that's rough. I wonder if they've revised me lower. Because it was only supposed to get down to like 30 something. Let me see. Now you're making me worry. That does not sound like fun. No, 39 is the low on Sunday. Man, that's scary. So Betty says, Ocala is supposed to get into the 20s this weekend. Let's help Betty. I just planted cucumbers. Some I did pots I can move, but the others just seed prayer. Well, if they're small enough, just mulch over them, or put some jars over them, that kind of thing. that you can probably pull them through. Let's see where we are. Hey, Alan, nice to see you. Yeah, sheets, mulch. Just go and get, go get all the mugs, all the coffee mugs you have. If they're still little sprouts, and cover them. They should survive. Hannah says, I use small styrofoam coolers overnight with a rock on top. Bought them from Dollar Tree. Great idea. I like that. The jug idea works. Little greenhouses. I've used salsa jars over small tomato transplants. I'm always saving jars to use for seed saving and stuff like that. Jan says, David, will a broadfork get rid of honeysuckle vine roots, or should I use the back-breaking mattock? Yeah, it's really hard to say. I have not pulled honeysuckle vine roots out, but I imagine if there's something like smilax, I could get them out with a broadfork because I broke the ground around them, and then they were easy to pull. The broadfork really breaks the ground up down to 14 inches, which allow you, to get through. So, am I familiar with the work of Rudolf Steiner? I have read his name before. Please give me a book title. This is very familiar. This name is familiar to me. What do I know about Rudolf Steiner? What did he write? What did he write? I'm not sure. Maybe I don't know. Have a good night, Alan. Jason says it goes back to Samuel's warning, the king that you get will always be a tyrant. Seems that way. There were some cool ones here and there, but... Yeah, Fish's Love's wife said, D to the G got back now when we're all looking around for a new landmass to just start over. That's right. But he's got the whole world in his hands. That's true. Tyler Day says, anybody know of any good raspberry varieties for Southern California, Zone 10A? Yes, Mysore raspberry. That will grow there. No problem. It likes the tropical weather. Mysore raspberry. I just dropped it there. It's a black-blue type of a raspberry. It's not exactly like other raspberries, but it's good. I got it, Hannah. I saw the picture. Thank you. The couple of pictures there. You're keeping them small. It would be interesting to see how they look as they grow. They're not very old yet. They don't look like. Carolyn says Gainesville is supposed to go down to the 40s. Okay, that's not the 20s. Ocala in the 20s. Gainesville in the 40s doesn't really make any sense. Maybe that's a myth. Let's hope for you guys there. So, all right. So, back to this. What I want to talk about, thirdly, is deliberately making ecosystems. Not just planting a bunch of stuff. Not just building the soil. Not just interplanting and building the soil, but actually planting plants that are not necessarily edible, but act as supports. And I'm not talking about just, hey, throw some marigolds in around your tomatoes. That's good, that's good. But what I'm talking about is doing perennial beds. I noticed some years ago we planted these perennial beds. And we put all kinds of herbs and flowers and things in there. I let my daughter plant all kinds of stuff in it, whatever interesting things. They were right there in the gardens. There was one bed that was all perennials. And having all those perennials in there provided a place for the lizards to live. It provided a place for assassin bugs and ladybugs. And it brought in butterflies. And it brought in all kinds of good guys. Bees were working around that all the time. So the annual gardens around them, they get turned under and they get harvested and the plants get pulled and they, there's bare dirt sometimes and sometimes it's all empty and sometimes things are all burnt out for the winter. But this perennial bed always had life in it. And because of that, it acted as a home for a lot of the good guys. And along with that, I hung little birdhouses here and there around the yard because I wanted those little insect eating birds. I don't mind if they eat a little bit of the fruit or whatever, but the birds would be there to eat the insects out of the garden. And I also deliberately made solitary bee houses and wasp houses, and I put up, I've said this many times, put up old mailboxes for the wasps to build their nests in. And so the ecosystem around the garden was very alive, and there was a lot going on there. And because of that, instead of it just being this big open grassy spot with a little garden patch in it, I had almost no pest problems. I had more pest problems when I started, but over a few years, the pest problems dropped to about 0. Not really a problem. Yes, there were still pests. So it's about 0. There's still some things like tomatoes that would just get wrecked by stink bugs. But, tomatoes just weren't really that well fitted to the system anyways. Z Sandman says, that's why we planted a lot of lantana and autumn olive. Yes, I love both of those plants. They're excellent. Excellent, excellent. Bird houses, but are bird feeders wise here in Florida with our roof rats and squirrels? It really depends. I mean, you can train the squirrels to come to it and then eat the squirrels. Or bury the squirrels and plant Seminole pumpkins over them. Or melons. Squirrel melons. So, hey, Laura, nice to see you. I haven't seen you in a while. I haven't seen Paulini in a while either. I wonder what she's up to. The whole gang's here, man. So, what I'm doing right now, which is what all this is part of, in my gardens, I've put in, first we tilled and we did row gardens. Now I'm putting in the grocery row gardens with the 4-foot beds and 3-foot paths and lots of perennials mixed in with annuals, which is going to look just so cool later in the year. Everybody will be like, wow, David the Good, that is so cool. I didn't see it until now, but it's really, really cool. And I'm going to subscribe. I'm going to subscribe, and I'm going to hit the bell and thumbs up every video. And it really will look cool because I built one like this last year down on the island. But what I'm doing right now is creating a perennial patch. I was working on this today where the impromptu hugelkultur broke out. And the kind of got this irregular little patch where I planted rye and clover and stuff, and it's not doing all that great, but it's doing. And there was an oak tree there which I cut down and chopped into pieces. And then there is a holly there that I pruned a bunch of the branches off of. And then there's this other oak tree kind of maybe 40 or 60 feet from the first one or something like that at a diagonal. So it's this weird patch where there's a little bit of shade, and it's not really ideal to run garden beds in necessarily. But I thought, hey, there is a little place, a little wildlife oasis that I can build right into the middle of the garden beds. The landlord wants to leave those trees there. Cool. We'll work around the trees. So I've got mulberries and Chinese chestnuts that I'm going to tuck into there. I have a Japanese persimmon, and I have some berries. And so I'm going to do some little islands in there, some little plant guilds that we can walk in between, and it will be a little food forest. Just maybe a 20th of an acre food forest type of a thing, with a holly tree on one end and an oak tree on the other, and that stuff in the middle. I've got pawpaw seeds that I can plant out there. I've got some lemongrass. I got a bunch of flowers and things that I can throw out there. I can till some seeds under and see what happens. But it'll be a little bunker for life, and another place for the bees and the butterflies and the birds and other things to live. But a pretty little food forest system. And what I can do too is take, a lot of these pieces of wood that I've chopped up. I'm going to just throw them on the ground in there and let them rot down. I don't really want brush piles because we have all the rattlesnakes here, but I will put individual hunks of log out there. And I'm going to go ahead and like make that soil as rich as I can possibly do it. It's going to look really cool. Another thing that I'm going to do to bring the life in there is to take a hunk of log and stick it up in the ground or up probably against the trunk of the oak. I want to hang, so like put some pieces of trunk around the base of the oak and tie it to it. And then drill holes all over, all through it. I'm going to get my drill bit, long drill bits, and just drill holes and drill holes and drill holes and drill holes into these pieces of log. Why would I want to tie some logs up to a tree and drill tons of holes in them? Anybody? You can let me know. I have not made it to Petals from the Past. No. I'm not exactly sure where that is. Where are they? Petals from the Past. Okay. How far away are they? Let me see. Oh man. They're a haul. No, I don't think I'm going up there anytime soon. That's hours away. We are in lower Bama. I mean, we were like right near the very tip of Florida, so that's a bit of a haul. There you go, Mangai dude. Yep, there we go. Solitary bees. Tina says bees. Monique says bees. Martha, mushrooms is a good guess. Scott says da bees. SPQR Cincinnati, shrooms. Laura, wasps. Yes, wasps as well. Termites, yeah. Mason bees, there you go. Carpenter bees. Solitary bees. Rummy bees. I don't know rummy bees, but that's cool. Manga Dude says, I've been told that my bee boxes that are just drilled out logs will eventually get mites and be unsuitable for bees. Yeah, I've heard that too. But, you know what you could do? You could drill out those logs, and then if you're worried about it in a year, you could go light up a propane torch, when the bees are out of season. And you could just go like this, and touch that torch down into all those holes and just probably burn all the mites out of there, no problem. And then you're good for another year. Spelling bees. So I did this thing one year where I was like, I'm gonna make these bee house things. But there's a variety of species in Florida, all kinds of bees in Florida. And so I decided, well, I'm gonna drill 1/2-inch bit, some 1/4 inch, some 3/8 inch, some 3/16, some whatever, right? So I had all these different sizes, 5/16, 7/16, 9/16. I had all these different size bits, and I just drilled a whole bunch of different holes. And to my surprise, I ended up with a lot of little solitary wasps. I did get some bees. I got some little itty bitty bees, like teeny weeny little bees. I got some bigger bees, and I got some wasps, and they were all like neighbors. Like they just all moved in together, and they were stuffing insects into these holes, into the holes that I dug, and then they were gluing them shut with, whatever they, mud or whatever they were chewing and making. Yeah, wood borer bees, exactly. So, it was crazy to see how they went nuts, and And I could go out there and stand next to it and watch these little solitary bees and wasps coming back and forth and sticking them in there. Apple bees. That's nice. So it was like this crazy thing. I think it was by March, April, they really started filling up. It's about time. I actually got to get to work on this. I should probably do it this week. And man, I had no idea that so many different little things were there. These tiny, weeny little wasps, like that big. Little black wasps. There were some little green bees. Man, I was like, this is so cool. Yes, right. You got to use some metric drill bits. We have European honeybees too. They probably are on metric. But if I went out and I got some river cane, I could go and cut a bunch of that stuff up and bundle it together and hang it out there. But just drilling lots of holes in pieces of wood worked really well when I did it before. So I'm just going to do that again. And that'll be really kind of fun. We'll see if it works, So putting that life around your garden, it really will greatly, not only will it increase the pollination of everything, it'll also decrease the pest population. It really lowers the pest population. It's pretty nuts. So yeah, we're going to do that. Scott the Celt says, my brother got some tree crosscuts from a chip drop, and he cut out some rectangular cores at the middle crosscuts and put solid ones on the top and bottom. Okay, sorry, I'm missing what this is in reference to. I thought it was about building a house. Was that to make a bee house? Canadian bees are metric. But they probably still remember the English system. So, in my garden this year, I may not have as much ecosystem as I would like because I don't have much in the way of established anything. It's just been grass out there and oaks and scrubby stuff around the woods. But there should be a lot of life in the woods. And if I encourage the stuff that I want to come to my garden, okay, big bee house, nice. Betty says, I stuffed a box with bamboo pieces one year for bees. Yeah, it's really fun. It is really fun to just see them move in. It's surprising. When I drilled all those holes, I'm like, yeah, we'll see. And I mean, it was just a flurry of activity a month later when they started coming. I was like, oh my gosh, there was tons of them. So I'd like to also build a bluebird house or a few bluebird houses because there are bluebirds in my neighborhood. The kids have seen them a few times. And I think that would be just cool. Yeah, thank you, Scott. I'd love to see a picture. I think it would be neat to get those going in there. Have a good night, Karen. Good to see you. But I've also got, this is like for next year, I bought barrel gourd and birdhouse gourd seeds this year to plant in the gardens. So hopefully I can get birdhouse gourds to hang out there. I think it would be really cool to just, birdhouse, grow my own birdhouses, That'd be really neat. Riverdale Gardens says, we've had honeybees in our non-functional chimney for over 25 years. Sits over my garden area. They are all over the garden in summer. Yeah, that is cool. At my in-laws' place in Fort Lauderdale, there is a live oak tree with a hole going into the bowl of the tree. And it's often had honeybees living in it. They lived in there for years and they disappeared for a while and they came back and, that's pretty cool. Terry McKellis says, I'm growing birdhouse gourds this year too. Yeah, I grew them once before and they did not do well for me, but I figured, well, I'm going to try again, and see what happens. Monique says, please do a video on making birdhouses. I planted birdhouse gourds too. Wrapped the bottom in foil last year. The borers took mine. I think it was the, if I remember them melting away with white mildew. That's what got mine. People have told me, though, that they grow tons of summer squash here without issue. I'm like, you grow summer squash? Because every time I grew summer squash in Florida, it was completely destroyed by borers. Borers are nasty. So, yeah, they'll destroy everything. Manga Dude says it's amazing how the bees and wasps can find the little holes. It is. It's like they can spot them. They're designed to go and seek these things out. It's like we're saving them a lot of work by making little houses for them. A Fishes and Loves Life says, can you trellis the birdhouse gourds? Yes. Christopher asks if anyone knows how to prune honeyberries. No, I've never grown those before. It'd be interesting. So, does anybody have any more questions or super chats or anything like that you want to throw in? I'm gonna sing the comments here. Can you trellis the birdhouse gourds? Yes, you can. Yes, you can. Does anyone know how to prune honeyberries? Spray with milk. Old Alabama gardener did the foil trick for squash. Hey, hey, at Monique, I'm doing birdhouse gourds and loofahs. Loofah challenge. I grow big Z word. Don't say that. You just threw my song off. Am I still in Florida? No, I'm in Alabama. I'm only 4 or so miles from the Florida border. Jan grew her birdhouse gourds on a chain link fence. Monique says, I bought the book last night on propagation. Free plants for everyone. There's a link below this video. I think you'll enjoy it. We had a lot of fun with that one. Oh man, the comments are going too fast for me now. Oh, we got a super chat here from SPQR Cincinnati. Sends a super chat and says, building a modest house currently. Any suggestions on modifications to the house or around the house that would facilitate food production? Yes. If you can, depending on your climate, if you can make sure that you have a good south-facing wall. Don't let your south-facing wall be shaded. Because if you have a south-facing wall, you can use that wall to grow plants from a zone, a complete zone or two south of you. That is, the thermal mass of a south-facing wall is a really good thing. And if the roof overhangs on that side a little further, so much the better, because it's a little more protection overnight. Another thing to do is to make sure that when you build the house, you can harvest all of the gray water from the house. If you are going to be putting all of your pipes into the slab, you may have to do this, have them all going to septic or to the sewer, etc. for code. But I would make sure that there's a way to get a hold of that gray water for irrigation. If you can keep the gray water, that would be really good. My last house that I built, I ran all the gray water out, and I had these meandering little trenches that I planted plants on, and they were always looking great. The bananas were unbelievable. Oh man, they're probably fruiting right now. But another thing is think about water capture from the roof as well. More simple roof line is easier to run gutters and to capture water. So if you can capture the water, that's great. I would keep that south wall open. Keep that south wall open. Find a way to make sure that you can get a hold of that gray water and make it, think about how you're going to capture the water from the roof to use, because you can get a lot of water off a roof. Down in Grenada, everybody has big tanks by their houses. Pretty much everyone. We're talking like 1,000-gallon tanks that they capture the water off the roof in case the water supply dries up. And that's great for irrigation. And in a pinch, you can clean it and drink it. Let's see here. Snails and Garden says, I am giving up and feel that you could take care of all my plants. I have many very special plants and I'm not doing well. I need to find a home for all my plants. Oh, I'm very sorry to hear that. But there are a lot of great gardeners. There are a lot of great gardeners that would be happy to take care of your plants. I have had to give away plants. When we moved and left the island and moved back to the States, I had some really cool stuff that nobody else had. Like usual, I was accumulating plants and propagating things from around the world, including some things I got from Indonesia that were really irreplaceable on the island, but I couldn't bring them with me. You just can't import plants like that. And I had to give them away, so I gave them to some friends who I knew were real plant people. But I do hope that you're, you feel better and are healthy. That sounds like you're going through a tough time right now. Becky says copper fungicide for black freckled papaya. Well, if you want to. I've always had papaya ending up with black flecks on them, and I never worry about it. But if you really want to, yeah, copper fungicide pretty much deals with everything. But Hannah says, if it's snowing, would you still graft apple trees? No, I'd probably wait. They may still take. The plants really are amazing. But I would wait a little longer. Wouldn't want the grafts to freeze. I've heard of pink banana squash, Love Cat. That's supposed to be good. When am I releasing the tomato video? Probably tomorrow. Wendy says, my honeyberries are small, so no pruning yet, though there was a bird nest in it. Christopher says, I have a citrus tree on my south wall in Zone 7B. My kind of gardener. Yeah, man. It's the way to do it. Laura says, what time of year is best for grafting citrus, like making a fruit cocktail tree? I can't tell you. I think pretty much with citrus you can do it year round, but I would not do it at the hottest time or the coldest time. Probably now is fine. I would do it. Bring your gun, Jan. Loofah is insane. I have both loofah and I have angle gourds this year. I like the angle gourds because of the way they look, but they make terrible sponges because they're so hard to peel. Anthony says, that's what I did. Pipe the gray water into a leach pipe that is going between my garden and my fruit trees that I'll be planting this spring. Yeah, very good. Treywick says, I found the company who takes all the leaf bags from the city nearby and can get all I want for free, considering getting a few loads, but probably need to sort through the grass clipping bags. Yeah, unfortunately, grass clippings are much more likely to have atrazine and stuff like that in there. Yes, SPQR Cincinnati. Good luck with the house building. I did that. It's a lot of fun. It's a big challenge at the same time. But those were things that I really improved on from my previous house. Oh, the Szechuan, I can't even say it. The pepper. I used to always want one of those. I wanted one of those from my old food forest. I never managed to get one. I heard they're amazing. Christopher sliced his thumb open while grafting yesterday. You know, that video I did, get grafting with the Band-Aids all over the fingers, I didn't cut myself a single time, but I thought it would be hilarious to just add more, constantly. Who Ben87 says, was pruning my landlord's prune tree earlier today and thought about grafting onto it. Yes, you should do it. It's hilarious. Snails and Garden says, I want to live and die in one place with all my plants. Well, yes. I would just pray. You know, pray and ask for direction, ask for the right things to happen. And if there's anything in your life that I mean, it's always good to start with repentance, asking the Lord for forgiveness for anything you may have done, anything in your past. Try to, say, bring these things to mind. If you're on the right foot with God, He will take care of you. We don't always get what we think we're supposed to get or what we want, but He will take care of us. And at least, you may have some peace in it. But we don't get to keep anything long-term anyways. As hard as it is to lose plants and lose houses and even lose people, it's dust to dust. We are going to leave here. It doesn't matter if I made $1 bazillion selling free plants for everyone. If everybody clicked the link on every one of my videos and bought my books and I became a multimillionaire, somebody else is going to inherit it. So we don't get to keep things. The only thing we get to take with us is our soul, and we should make sure that that's going to the right place. Believe What You Know says, is citrus greening that bad in Florida? Oh yeah, it's absolutely terrible. I don't recommend anybody plant citrus there until they've got the cure worked out for it. Lovecat says, Farmer Rishi says that fruit cocktail trees suffer because one of the grafts will be the most vigorous and will redirect all the rootstock energy, starving the rest. Thoughts? Yes, Farmer Rishi is correct that fruit cocktail trees often end up that way, and that is more really due to operator error. You can't simply do something like that with a tree, mixing multiple species onto the same tree without maintaining it, because there are definite differences in vigor. So when I grafted peach onto wild Chickasaw plum, the peach way outgrew that plum. I mean, it was getting thicker. The peach branch was like that, and the plum branch was like that. And it wanted to fall over. So I had to tie that particular branch up by sticking a piece of metal conduit. I just rammed this metal conduit into the ground, and I tied it up really carefully with some pieces of cloth so it doesn't rub or burn into the thing. But there's a difference in vigor. So if you do a fruit cocktail tree, know that you're going to have to prune some sections of it more on a regular cycle, probably a couple times a year. Particularly in summer, you go out there and you say, okay, this one's growing way too much, so that's getting cut back. This one's not growing enough, so I'm not going to cut that. And you have to work on it a little bit. It's worth doing. It's fun, but it's not as easy as just simply planting 3 different varieties. When you graft 3 varieties into one tree, you're going to have to deal with that. If you plant 3 different varieties in your yard, that one of them can get bigger than the others, and it doesn't make any difference because they're not running into each other. Yes, as Monique says, it has to be pruned vigorously and maintained so one graft won't take over any other and they grow at the same rate. That's right. Joey says, hey, Snails, I got 2.5 acres in Ocala. Bring your trees here. And Joey leaves his email there, Snails and Garden, if you want to get in touch. It's beneath your comment on praying. Crimson Permaculture says, I saw a fruit cocktail tree in Gurney's the other day and was wondering if it was worth it. You definitely need to stay on top of selective pruning. Yeah, it's one of those things. And Gurney's generally sells you little itty bitty trees too, so you'd probably have to put more work into that than maybe a larger, well-trained one. Joey says, can I graft a fruiting mulberry to a paper mulberry? I did not have them take when I tried it. I tried putting a bunch of grafts from fruiting mulberries, multiple different varieties of fruiting mulberries, onto paper mulberries one spring to see if I could get them to take. I stuck them all over, did different varieties of grafts too. None of them took. I was very disappointed. I really, really, really wanted that to work. So, Monique also leaves a email address for you, Snails and Garden. So look at that there too. Yes, you got it. I believe what you know says, what are the best 5 trees for 9A? Stump the gardener. The best 5 trees for 9A, you are on the edge of a tropical zone. Japanese persimmon, mulberry, loquat. I would love to try a starfruit there, but you'd have to shelter it. Pineapple, pear, and probably the Dunstan chestnut. William says, I'd like to make my own fruit cocktail citrus tree. Should be good grafting practice. Yeah, it would be fun. It would be fun. I love doing that kind of thing. It's I've got stuff grafted onto a friend's tree, grafted on pieces of peaches and other varieties of plums onto his plum tree. So it'll be interesting to see how that happens. It's going to work out. It's going to be really cool. They should be taking soon. The trees are starting to bud out right now, so they should grow. What about best trees for zone 3A? What grows in the Arctic? I don't know. Fir trees? It's like a desert up there. Howling winds. Phew. Yeah. Well, guys, I'm going to call this thing, unless anybody's got some more questions we need to run through here. Betty says, not to change the subject, I watched Rachel's video about fermenting again so I could make some more sauerkraut, cabbages, and my fennel. Oh, nice. A bit of garlic. Sounds really good. Please tell her thank you. Okay, I will. You can grow lichens in zone 3A. A lichen tree. Hey, Lauren, I was wondering where you were. There's Paulini. Nice to see you. Looks like we're not going to get any freezes. Hopefully not any more through the spring up here. Yeah, you can eat pine cones. That's right. So tomorrow I'm going to film some more videos. I'm probably going to get the tomato project out tomorrow. It's just a really big film, and I had to do some more processing on it today, and I just have to upload it, and it's going to take me a chunk of the night to upload it. So probably tomorrow, maybe tomorrow evening, Friday evening, we'll do a premiere. That would be fun. Depends on what the day looks like. I'll load it up and we'll maybe get them, you know. Chelsea says, would it be better to graft pear to peaches or vice versa? No, you can't intergraft pears and peaches. You can intergraft peaches, plums, and nectarines. And you can graft pears with other varieties of pears, but there's not much else you can do there. Joey sends a $10 super chat, says, thank you, David. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Lauren says, you keep having streams at weird times. Well, I did one the other day in the middle of the afternoon. Now this is the evening. What is not a weird time, Paulini? 6 a.m.? I mean, I don't know. She says, you always pick on me on your streams. I met her in person. Beautiful lady. Beautiful lady. Great gardener. And she's like, you pick on me. What? When do I pick on people? I never pick on people. Harass? Fight with? Pick on? No. Insult, maybe? Jason says, Zone 3, some hazelnuts, Siberian pea shrub, oaks, maples, pines. Yeah, sugar maples. Acer saccharum. That's a good one. You can probably get away with some apples there, too. Seshmuse sends a $5 super chat and says, thank you for your books. They are helping me build my first garden in Florida. You are very welcome. The book, Florida Survival Gardening, has been doing quite well. I am going to be taking that book and publishing it myself, so it may disappear off the shelf for a little bit as it gets switched over to my own publishing house. And So if anybody wants to get Florida survival gardening, probably should get it now before it goes out of stock, because it may get out of stock in the next few weeks, and I don't know how long it takes to reset. I've got to redo the ISBN and get some things redone on it, but I'm going to be pulling my books and republishing them a bit at a time. Tina says, I fermented cucamelons. Oh, that's got to be cool. I bet you they were good. That would be fun. Oh, I'm sorry, Lauren, that the streams haven't been coming through. And I'm glad you still love me. My wife says similar things. Yesterday, I said, you know what? She says, I like the hard tacos better than the soft tacos. And I said, I like the soft tacos better because I like how it gets like gooey when you chew it up and it kind of sticks inside your mouth. And she just looks at me. She's like, ew. I don't even know. Why do you say these things? I don't even know why I like you. And then I just picked my cowboy hat up. I got a cowboy hat. It looks really good. It's very masculine. It's very cowboy. I'm a cowboy now. I don't have a cow yet, but I'm working on it. Actually, I think I might have part of a cow in my Robinhood account. I don't know. I have to check. But I put my cowboy hat on. And I looked at her. She's like, all right, that's why. But what are you going to do? See, I'm just reading here. You can grow ramps up there. Yeah, you can grow ramps. You can grow lingonberries. I always wanted to grow lingonberries. I don't know why. I think it's because I had lingonberry jam. I had a dear friend who was in his 80s from Sweden. His name's Ralph. I hadn't talked to him in a few years, and I sent him an email 2 months ago, and then I thought, you know what? I bet he's passed on. So I'll look his name up after I sent the email. Sure enough, he died in May of 2020. He was a great guy, but he introduced us to some various Swedish food. We would go over to his house sometimes after church. He would have us over. And he and his wife are both in their 80s. Wonderful couple, very friendly. They reminded me of my own grandparents, but we used to go over there for lunch sometimes after church back when I lived in the Ocala area. And we had a lingonberry jam. And he's like, oh, lingon's, that's a Swedish berry. And it was delicious. I'd love to try growing them, but hi, Byron. Good evening. Yeah, Lauren, you and Rachel get along great. She gets along great with most people. She has a problem with dumb people, though. She starts to get, like, backing up. But, so you'll be fine with her. You're okay. Ramps. Hey, creeping dogwood will grow in Zone 3. That's amazing. Caribou grow there, too. So, well, I'm going to call this thing. You guys have a great night. Thank you very much for the super chats and the questions. Thank you to Jacob Hawks, SBQR Cincinnatus, and Joey for the super chats this evening, and Seshmu as well. I hope I'm saying that correctly. And also, welcome to Jacob Hawks, our newest member on this channel. It's very glad that you joined. If you want to be a member of this channel, sometimes we do members-only streams, and you get to see things before other people get to see them. Like when my next book comes out, I will often give a download link. I've done this with members before and said, anybody see any problems? Let me know what you think of the book. And then we'll talk about it in a stream, which is pretty cool. I need to do something like that very soon. So, Lauren says, I told my maid of honor at my wedding that her only job was to keep the stupid people away from me. That's the way Rachel feels too. Scrubland Farm says, hey man, it's nice to see you. Duck is great with lingonberries. Yes. So, Scrubland Farms sent me some velvet beans, which are a testosterone booster. Apparently he thought I needed them. So, yeah, I'm getting it, man. Yes. Thank you. I just looked at them and I knew that you had touched them, and so that they had been imbued with like powers. And so I just like opened the box and I was like, you know, it was awesome. And so I haven't even planted them yet. Just like being in the same room with Sam's velvet beads. Pretty awesome. Hey, Joey, welcome. New member, Joey. All right, Joey. Now you get to use the crazy emojis too. I don't know. Yeah, I needed more testosterone, man. He's probably looking at one of my previous videos and going, he looks low energy. This guy is such low energy. You know, gardeners, for Lent, for the season of Lent, I'm eating nothing but meat. It's kind of a different way to do it, you know? All right, so I'm going to sing a closing song. The closing song goes like this. This is the song that I'm gonna play to close the stream, to close the stream. Do you eat those velvet beans? I thought they'd taste bad or have some kind of side effect. Oh yes, if you eat too many, your hair falls out and you'll get a migraine. So don't eat too many velvet beans. Just eat 5 a day for best results. Another thing about the velvet beans is that they've got dopamine precursors, which make you feel so crazy. They give you this kind of peaceful feeling. It's amazing, but I haven't been able to grow them for years. But now they're here in a box. They came all the way from Scrubland Farm. Scrubland Farms. And this is the end of the song. Oh wait, we need a rhyme. If you have time. Have you ever grown or eaten toothache plant? It's fun to play with and surprise people. There was some growing in the lot across from me when I was in Florida. Yes, it'll make your mouth go numb like chewing opium. I'm not gonna sing that Alexandra because it's not true. I could say Alexandra is a vegetarian. Alexandra doesn't eat the best food in the world. The best food in the world. Y'all know what the best food in the world is? Goes really well with eggs. Come on, folks. Someone's got to give me the best food in the world. What's the best food in the world? Meat! Meat is the best food! I was looking for a specific sort of meat, Jan, but that's kind of a category I appreciate. Bacon, 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 bacon. That's right, folks. Bacon or hot sauce. Bacon with hot sauce, folks. You know what's a really good thing to do, right? Or something really healthy. You get yourself a tub of sour cream, and you cook like 12 pieces of bacon, and you dip them in the sour cream. Oh, it's amazing. And it's low carb, like a deer heart. Bacon wrapped in bacon, maybe bacon fried steak, candied bacon is never a mistake. You gotta plant those bacon trees to go with your sauerkraut. Bacon wrapped figs are amazing. Bacon makes everything better. Bacon wrapped, bacon fried, and bacon grease that's been in the ground for about 15 years. David, you are a nut. Well, you are what you eat, and I'm eating bacon. Bacon sandwiches, bacon stuffed bacon. Ooh, ooh, LOL, this is awesome. Paulini says from afar, bacon, lettuce, and tomatoes. Drop the lettuce, drop the tomatoes, and you've got the best, oh, bacon treat. Man, I love candied bacon, but bacon just ain't free. I wish I could buy the world some bacon. Pasta baconara, chicken wrapped in bacon, chocolate dipped bacon. Bacon. Moringa is my bacon tree, but it needs some sodium nitrate. Maybe you should fertilize with sodium nitrate. Almost out of bacon. I bought 2 different types of bacon at Walmart the other day. I should do a side-by-side bacon. Hannah says bacon or fatback? Fatback's fun to sing. Fatback, 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 oh, but bacon, bacon, bacon. Oh, fatback, I think I prefer bacon. All right, there we go. That's enough. You guys are weird. I know this weirdness. Like, here I am trying to do this. Okay, we're going to talk about the ecology. We're going to do some permaculture thing. You guys are like, bacon? Let's sing about bacon. What happens? Things just get weird. And it's like, we're not trying to do these things, but they just kind of happen. Where was I? Oh, I was just thanking everybody. I was going to take off, and then there was all this bacon showed up. Yeah. Now everybody's hungry. I'm going to go make some bacon. Yeah. Well, you guys have a great night. I'm going to do some filming tomorrow. Now, hopefully, we will... I'd like to teach the world to eat in perfect harmony. I'd like to buy the world some bacon and keep it company. Oh, man. What? I started the bacon thing? I don't think so. I think you guys made it happen. All right, you guys have a great night. God bless you all. This was a lot of fun. And I'm going to do some stuff tomorrow. And hopefully we'll do a premiere, like a 1 hour and 20-minute premiere tomorrow evening of the new tomato thing. Hopefully I can arrange that. If I don't get it arranged properly and get the newsletter and stuff out ahead of time, I will arrange it for later this week, because this is a big, serious film that took tons and tons of time, like a couple of years off and on in the making. So, you know, there we go. Velvet beans wrapped in bacon is a good idea. That's right. See, this is the stuff humans do before a golden pig gets made, and then Moses has to intervene. I threw the jewelry in the fire, and a golden calf came out. That was Aaron's excuse. It just came out. Like, I don't know what happened. I certainly didn't take time hammering out a false god. I just threw some gold in the fire, and there we go, Moses. I mean, Moses is probably looking at his brother like, Are you literally retarded? All right. Have a good night. God bless you all. And until next time, may your thumbs always be green.